Golden Bachelor. Behind the scenes of reality television, what we see is only a fraction of what truly happens. And when it comes to the Traitors, fans are now buzzing about one major mystery: why producers reportedly cut footage featuring Colton Underwood. It's the kind of reality TV twist no one saw coming. Because when Colton walked into the castle, expectations were high. This wasn't just another contestant. This was a former lead from The Bachelor, a man whose life had already unfolded under bright lights, dramatic music, and intense public scrutiny. Viewers anticipated strategy, emotional depth, maybe even a little redemption arc energy. Instead, fans started noticing something curious. Moments where Colton seemed deeply involved in conversations suddenly trimmed. Strategy discussions teased in previews, barely shown. Emotional reactions hinted at, quickly transitioned away from. And the question started spreading across social media like wildfire. What happened to the missing footage? Reality television is a delicate dance between storytelling and strategy. Producers craft narratives carefully. Every episode must balance suspense, alliances, betrayals, and emotional arcs. Sometimes even compelling material ends up on the cutting room floor, not because it's bad, but because it doesn't fit the puzzle. But when the footage involves someone with Colton's history, the curiosity hits differently. Colton entered the show with a unique reputation. After years of headlines, personal growth, and public self-discovery, he arrived on the Traitors with something to prove, not necessarily to the audience, but perhaps to himself. Inside the castle walls, relationships form quickly. Trust becomes currency. Smiles can hide secrets. And according to whispers from insiders and observant fans, Colton was more strategic than viewers were allowed to see. Some say he was deeply analytical, watching, calculating, carefully choosing when to speak and when to stay silent. Others speculate he formed bonds that were more layered than the final edit suggested. And here's where it gets interesting. Reality producers aren't just documenting events, they're shaping a story. If a player isn't central to the season's main narrative arc, even strong moments can get trimmed for pacing. The show must prioritize tension between traitors and faithfuls, dramatic confrontations, and shocking eliminations. It's possible Colton's gameplay was steady, thoughtful, maybe even subtle, but subtle doesn't always translate into explosive television. Or maybe, just maybe, his strongest moments happened in conversations that shifted alliances quietly rather than dramatically. And those quieter moments, they don't always survive the edit. But fans noticed something else too. Whenever Colton did appear on screen, there was a softness there, a calm energy. A man who has been through very public highs and lows, now sitting in candlelit rooms discussing trust and betrayal like it's a philosophical exercise. There's something almost poetic about that. A former bachelor navigating deception in a medieval castle. If that's not reality TV irony, what is? Some viewers even joked online that perhaps Colton was playing such a smooth game that producers had to simplify the storyline for clarity. Others teased that maybe he was too charming in off-camera interactions and the editors couldn't possibly include every moment. And let's be honest, sometimes romance sneaks into the most unexpected corners of competition shows. Not necessarily romantic in the traditional sense, but in the way connections spark, the way two people exchange a knowing look across a round table, the way trust forms in whispers. Even if those moments weren't fully shown, fans could sense layers beneath the surface. There's also the reality that shows like The Traitors are ensemble casts. Big personalities naturally dominate screen time. If someone isn't in the middle of explosive drama, their story can become secondary, even if their influence is significant. Editing isn't personal, it's mathematical. Screen time equals storyline weight. And yet, the mystery has only made viewers more intrigued by Colton's experience. Interviews following the show hinted that there was much more happening than audiences saw. He described the environment as intense, emotionally charged, and surprisingly bonding. Bonding. That word alone suggests relationships formed deeply behind the scenes, friendships built in secrecy and suspicion. Imagine sitting in that castle late at night, Candles flickering, producers stepping away, contestants laughing nervously after a dramatic vote, walls that echo with secrets. In those unfiltered moments, that's where the real magic of reality TV happens. And maybe that's where Colton thrived most. There's something almost romantic about the idea of unseen moments, private jokes, strategic whispers, supportive hugs after tough decisions. It paints a picture far richer than a 60-minute episode can capture. But here's the twist. Sometimes being under-edited can work in a contestant's favor. It keeps people guessing. It fuels curiosity. It sparks conversations exactly like this one. And in today's entertainment world, mystery can be more powerful than exposure. Colton has lived through intense public chapters before. Compared to that, a few cut scenes may not rattle him much at all. If anything, it reinforces something he's spoken about before, the idea that you can't control the edit, only your actions. That perspective feels mature, grounded, and honestly, a little attractive. Because in a game built on manipulation and suspicion, maintaining authenticity is its own quiet victory. Fans continue debating whether producers made the right call. Some wish they could see extended footage. Others argue that editing is simply part of the genre's DNA. But the buzz itself proves something important. Colton made an impression, even in limited screen time, even in trimmed conversations, even in the mystery. And maybe that's the real bombshell here. Not scandal, not drama, but intrigue. A reminder that behind every reality episode lies hours of unseen laughter, tension, vulnerability, and strategy. And sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones we only glimpse between the edits. If there's one thing viewers love, it's peeling back the curtain, imagining what happened when cameras shifted angles, wondering which alliances were stronger than they appeared. So perhaps the real magic isn't in what was cut, it's in the imagination it inspires. Because at the end of the day, The Traitors isn't just about deception, it's about human connection under pressure. And Colton Underwood, whether front and center or partially unseen, was part of that tapestry. Maybe one day we'll hear more about those missing moments, maybe extended clips will surface, or maybe the mystery will remain part of the legend of the season. Either way, the conversation continues. And that's what great television does. It keeps us talking long after the candles burn out in the castle hall. If you enjoyed diving into the untold side of the Traitors and the intrigue surrounding Colton's experience, stay curious. Because sometimes the real story lives just beyond the edit, and that's where the most exciting chapters begin. And as the conversations kept swirling online, something unexpected started happening. The less viewers saw of Colton Underwood on The Traitors, the more they wanted to know. Fan forums lit up, social media threads stretched for pages, people began rewatching episodes, studying background reactions, analyzing facial expressions at the round table like they were decoding a romantic drama instead of a competition series. Did you see that look? Why did the camera cut right when he started talking? Who was he whispering to? It became a game within the game. And honestly, that's kind of iconic. Because in a show built on secrecy, Colton somehow became the season's most intriguing mystery, not through explosive speeches or dramatic betrayals, but through subtle presence. There's something undeniably charming about that. In a castle full of bold personalities and fiery confrontations, he played it cool, observant, measured. Almost like he was reading the room the way he once read hearts on The Bachelor, only this time, instead of handing out roses, he was navigating suspicion. And let's talk about that transformation for a moment. Going from an emotional vulnerability of a dating show to the psychological chessboard of The Traitors, that's a glow-up in competitive evolution. On a romance-focused show, your power lies in connection. On The Traitors, your survival depends on deception detection. Yet the skills overlap more than people realize. Reading body language, sensing hesitation, understanding when someone's words don't match their energy. Colton has lived in emotionally heightened environments before. He knows what it feels like to be questioned, analyzed, doubted. So stepping into a castle where trust is currency, that's not entirely unfamiliar territory. What makes the missing footage so fascinating is the possibility that he was playing a deeper social game than the edit revealed. Imagine late-night strategy talks that never aired, private moments of reassurance between castmates, jokes that lighten the tension after intense votes. Reality TV compresses days into minutes, entire storylines vanish for pacing. But those unseen hours, that's where relationships actually form. And several cast interviews hinted that the bonds created during filming were stronger than viewers might assume. There's something almost romantic about that idea. Strangers thrown into a candlelit castle, forced to rely on instinct and trust, building unexpected friendships under pressure. It's dramatic, it's cinematic, it's a little chaotic. And maybe Colton's quieter moments were part of that magic. Sometimes the calm presence in a storm becomes the anchor for others, not the loudest voice in the room, but the steady one. If producers chose to spotlight bigger confrontations, that doesn't erase the possibility that Colton's influence operated in softer ways. And soft power, that's underrated. Fans also began speculating whether his past reality TV fame affected the edit. Big names sometimes come with preconceived narratives. Producers might avoid overemphasizing a contestant whose story audiences already think they know. But here's the twist. People love reinvention arcs. There's something deeply satisfying about watching someone step into a completely different arena and adapt. And from what we did see, Colton wasn't trying to dominate the screen. He wasn't theatrically pointing fingers or delivering grand speeches. He was listening, watching, smiling subtly. It's almost funny when you think about it. On a show titled The Traitors, the most mysterious element might not have been who was lying, but what was left out. And that mystery keeps the season alive long after the finale. There's also a bigger conversation here about editing itself. Reality TV is storytelling. Hours of footage are distilled into a cohesive arc. Heroes emerge, villains rise, plot twists are carefully placed. But real life inside those walls, it's messier, funnier, more layered. There are inside jokes we'll never hear, strategic debates that didn't fit the runtime, moments of vulnerability that didn't align with the episode's pacing. And that doesn't mean they didn't matter. In fact, sometimes the most meaningful connections happen off-camera, or at least off-episode. Colton's journey on the Traitors may not have been fully visible, but the intrigue surrounding it has created its own legacy. It's like a deleted scene in a romantic comedy. You didn't see it, but knowing it exists makes you curious. It adds dimension to the characters. And let's be real, mystery is attractive. The unknown draws people in. Instead of fading into the background, the limited screen time sparked something bigger: conversation, speculation, interest. And in the entertainment world, staying part of the conversation is its own kind of victory. What's especially compelling is how this chapter fits into Colton's broader public evolution. He's no stranger to growth, reflection, and stepping into new spaces. Watching him transition from dating show lead to strategic game player feels like watching someone explore a different side of themselves. Less fairy tale, more chessboard. But still human, still layered, still navigating relationships, just under different rules. And maybe that's the beauty of it all. The castle doors may close, the episodes may end, but the story continues in interviews, fan theories, and those little background moments people replay again and again. Sometimes the footage we don't see becomes more powerful than the footage we do, because imagination fills the gaps. And in those gaps, viewers project possibility. Was he forming secret alliances? Was he influencing votes quietly? Was he simply enjoying the ride without chasing the spotlight? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: his presence left an imprint, even if it was subtle, even if it was partially unseen. And maybe that's the ultimate twist in this behind-the-scenes bombshell. Not scandal, not controversy, but curiosity. A reminder that reality television is as much about what's edited out as what makes the final cut. And sometimes the most exciting stories are the ones unfolding just outside the frame, where whispers echo louder than speeches and quiet confidence outshines chaos. As fans continue to debate and rewatch, one thing remains clear. The castle may have kept some secrets, but it also created new ones.